Hello, indie artists. Welcome to the very first Indie Friend Music Business Podcast. My name is Robby Busick, and I'm here with my co-founder, Jerimae Yoder, and we're launching this podcast to help you understand how to navigate music business.
Yeah, we're really glad that you're joining us today. Robby and I have been through the trenches, and we are in the trenches of the music industry and the music business. Yeah,
right.
We both have had to navigate really exciting things and really, really hard things in the music business and with our own careers and with other careers too. So we're excited to share knowledge that we've gained over the years and are even learning in this landscape that continually changes. Like, it is fast-paced moving all the time. There are constant changes, and we want to be on top of those things because you now have a friend in the music business, and we want to be there to help you navigate and to take your career where you really want it to go with music.
That's great. Yeah, so I think to serve you guys well, we just want to share a little bit more about who we are, why we're doing this thing, what this thing is, and we really think we're going to be able to help you. Yes. So, as I said earlier, my name's Robby, and I am a songwriter. I'm a vocalist. I'm a singer, but I also sit on the business side of the music industry. So my background is actually in label and publishing, and we're going to get into what that actually means and how that affects you when you are independent, because it still affects you even though you may not be with a label, right? So I served on a label called Bethel Music for about 7 years. And during that time, I was almost everything. I was an intern, a coordinator, a manager. I helped to run the publishing department on the administrative side, and then moved over to the creative side. That label specifically functioned somewhat uniquely. It was a microcosm of a larger organization, and so it didn't always mirror traditional industry, right? So I got to wear a lot of hats that you normally wouldn't wear in a label, and so I have taken from a lot of those years to create what we're calling the Indie Friend, right? And so basically what I'm noticing is the independent music industry, that portion of the music industry is growing, and it's growing rapidly.
Really rapidly.
Very rapidly.
And matter of fact, the statistic is out now that over or right at half of music that's put onto Spotify is independent music, right?
Yes, but and I'm sure that probably includes indie labels,
absolutely,
putting music out. But yes, it is. It is no longer hard to write, record, and release music.
Yep.
What I'm noticing, though, is that while a lot of the barriers to getting music out there have come way down, there are still a lot of barriers to understanding how to do it well, right? And not just how to do it well from a creative standpoint, but in a lot of my consulting, what I'm seeing is a lot of you out there, you've figured out your craft. You've figured out the skill of writing, recording, and or releasing music. But what creatives don't realize is that when you are creative, you haven't, by becoming an artist or a writer, you haven't escaped the need for administration, for understanding the business that goes into this. In fact, if you are independent, you actually have to know it in a way that no artist that's signed to a label has to understand it. Right. Now, I would recommend everyone
right.
We've all heard
because we work with
stories,
label artists that are
now
I'll just take my hands. We got signed, great, and I'll give my background a little bit that pertains to that. But if you think you can ever pull off the gas of understanding how the business works, you're very close to tragedy, I guess I could say, or really, really hard things, because like as a business owner, if I don't know how to run my business or what's going on in the business,
right,
then bad things can happen.
Right.
Unfortunately.
And so what I'm telling artists is if you are an independent artist, you are the CEO
Yes.
of your own music business.
100%.
It is absolutely necessary if you want to be successful in this at all, or just a good steward of what you've been given, right? You have to understand how the money works
And
how the money flows.
That's it.
You have to understand the roles that you play when you are independent. Because as an independent artist, you're not just an artist. You're not just a writer. You're not just a singer. You're also a publisher.
Yeah.
And you're also a label.
You're a marketer.
You're a marketer. Absolutely.
You are
a content creator.
A content creator.
Right.
You're
right.
all the things until
Right.
you can find people to take those slots away from you,
Right.
those hats off. You're all those things. And you guys know this. And generally, as a musician, you go, how do I get people to listen to my music?
Right.
Because if I can get people to listen to my music, then I can raise my level of whatever I'm doing, and
Right.
maybe I can make money at this thing. But what you don't realize, and what I didn't realize at the time when I was on a label, is that actually, if I don't know what's happening in my business, if I don't become the CEO of my music business, I just handing off things that I don't even know what's happening.
Right.
How do I gauge what success really is and what's really happening?
Right. And that's something we're going to get into
Totally.
as we go through this season.
Yeah.
What does success look like?
Right.
Right. And how do you measure it as an
How
independent
do you
artist?
determine it?
Right.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of goal setting there, I
Yes.
think, that we'll get into. There's some things that we've developed to help set those goals, right? But I would just say, you guys, one of the reasons that I started this company with Jerimae was that I've just noticed there's so much fear. There is so much fear in the industry. There is so much fear of being taken advantage of. There's so much fear of like there's it's everywhere. There's fear of not getting the deal, of not being offered a deal, right?
Or good enough.
Or a good enough one. But then there's the fear of when the deal comes, do I know what I'm doing? Or are they trying to take advantage of me? So it's like no matter what, there's fear involved.
Yeah.
And I want to do everything I can to help indie artists not be making decisions from a place of fear.
Right.
I've watched artists run away from good deals, and I've watched artists sign bad ones.
Right.
So part of what we're doing here at the Indie Friend is we've actually designed it to I guess the best way to put it is we feel like we want to educate,
Yes.
we want to develop,
Right.
and we want to resource.
Exactly.
Okay?
Exactly.
So we created 3 pillars that help us in the goal of educating you as indie artists, because when you're educated, you're way more likely to make a good decision in your music business. When you're developed as an artist, which labels don't really do anymore,
There's a big caveat.
which we'll talk more about as we go throughout the season.
Yeah. Right.
What does it look like to put yourself through development?
Yeah.
Right? We've created a framework for that, and I'm going to let Jerimae share about that in just a second. So in our development process, we've created a one-on-one coaching program that helps indie artists with development, and then resources. And resources are companies that we are partnering with to resource you. The whole point is there are companies out there that can help you be a better singer, help you be a better musician, that offer deals in distribution, all of these different types of things that we're constantly curating trusted resources that we can help make available to you, or at least help you understand that they exist and that they're out there for you.
So you start to build your team in the areas that you need to grow in. You okay?
Yeah, good.
That helps you to really become, again, the CEO of your business, but you're handing off to the right people. Because again, that eliminates fear when you go, that's a good person, and these are good people that I can trust. So that's where the resources really are going to help.
So let's talk about the first 2 pillars.
Yeah, man.
The first pillar that we approach within the Indie Friend is the education pillar. So most of you, if you are listening to this, you've realized I can write, record, and release music. And I've at least figured that much out. If you haven't, we can still help you with that, right?
Absolutely.
But if you need that education, what you've realized is I don't need a college degree to do this.
Right.
There are plenty of great music business degrees out there that do educate artists, right? But a lot of them still leave artists wanting.
Yeah.
And it's because of all of the requirements that go into what creates a degree.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
So in those degrees, you're learning heady information about the history of music business and like all of these genres and how they were created or formed. And while all of that can be helpful, most of you have already figured out to some degree what your thing is, right? What your sound might be, who your influences are. You've already done your own research to figure out what DAW you're going to use and what instruments you want to be part of your sound, all of that. So what you're actually needing help with is the day-to-day. Right? So the education piece is the day-to-day information you absolutely have to know to maximize the amount of money that you can make off of your music, right? When you put music out there, it is automatically, if it's being streamed, if you are having visibility to your music and listeners listening to your music, there's automatic income involved with that, right? And most artists or writers do not realize all of the different ways that you can monetize music. In this season, we're going to get into what music actually is, what the difference between publishing is, what the difference between publishing versus label, what type of revenue is associated with all of that. I know it sounds like a lot of information, and we're going to get into that more later, but this course is designed, it's an e-course designed to help you understand all of those things, as well as go into how-to videos on registering songs to make sure that you do get paid royalties, as well as like, what kind of budget should I expect as an indie artist to spend on a song?
Right.
What kind of budget should I expect to spend on the marketing of the song? What resources are available to me for money? Are there resources out there that can help me pay for my music? All those kinds of things.
Actual
we put in
funding?
there. Funding
for doing my music?
That's right.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, exactly. So, I'm just to be clear, not saying the Indie Friend offers the funding, but we can offer pointing you in the right directions and helping you set goals to meet certain minimum standards for funding, that type of stuff.
Because when it comes to making music, like it's all steps in a process.
Right.
And then it happens again.
Right.
And you go back to writing, you go back to thinking about the next project. And every time you come around that circle, you can get a little bit better, or you can get a lot better at not just the music side of things, but the business side of things. So no matter where you're at in the process, this is your first time writing and recording music, or this is your 5th album that you've tried to do, like we can help in all those phases for the next thing. Yeah. And our second pillar then is coaching.
Right.
Do you need somebody alongside of you to help you realize what you need to do next? And so my background, I come from the side of was writing and recording music, just like all of you guys, and started touring around, playing around my local town in Indianapolis, and then regionally, and then nationally I got on a tour doing a bunch of stuff, and out of that tour came the opportunity to sign with a record label, and that was amazing. Like I'm doing what I want to do. They're going to pay me to go write and record music. Like, wow, of course, this is great. The dream. So we did an album, we put it out, and it went national distribution. And at the time, this was in 2006, so it was a while ago. But the point being is that, wow, everything was happening. It was going. I'm on TV, I'm on radio. We're doing a radio tour. Things are happening. It's in all bookstores. Like things, it's happening. It's in music stores, and about a year into that process, the label is running numbers and realizing how much more they're going to need to pour into me to really break me as an artist and where we were going. And I'm getting ready to do like another really big tour with some pretty big name people. And I'm like, whoa, like this is going to be awesome, until they decide that they're going to drop me from the label. They were paring down and wanted to become more lean. And now I'm gone off the label. What do you do?
Right.
And what do you do? And
Right.
and I realized I didn't know the business side of record labels. I didn't understand what was actually happening there. Had I had a handle on where numbers were, I probably would have done different things. And the other thing I did was I just let them do it all. Oh, just tell me where to go. Well, I don't have to do anything anymore. I'll just make music. And that was a mistake. That was a huge mistake.
Right.
I was not the CEO of my music business.
Right.
I was a pawn in the scheme of things, and they were kind of, and I wouldn't say they used me, because it was a great thing. I'm super appreciative of the time that I spent on the label, but I didn't do my job, which was to be the CEO and understand how it flowed and what I should do next, and strategize towards the things that would lead to a bigger audience, bigger tours, and things like that with the label and with those that they had put in my camp.
I think that's a really good point that you're bringing up, and it's that just because you're not independent in that scenario,
Right.
that still doesn't. You're still meant to be the CEO of your own music business,
Exactly
even
right.
if and when you're with a label
Right.
and a publishing company, right?
Exactly.
It's ultimately up to you,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
You need to know who you are and where you're going.
That's exactly right. So for me, that sent me into years of business training, understanding the music business, also just taking a step back. And I started to get coach training, because if I'm now learning about how the music industry works and how business works, man, I want to show other people how to do that. So I was coached by a mentor, and it rocked my world. And I'm like, what is this coaching thing? Like, this is really, really cool. So I got some coach training on how to help people through a process systematically. And again, that just helped me to understand how people work.
Right.
And how not just, how you're wired, and how people change and make change. So when Robby and I started talking about the indie friend, one of the second pillar is coaching. Helping artists take a really clear view of where they're at right now, where they truly want to go, and then what are the stepping blocks to get there in a very systematic way, but also then hold you accountable to accomplishing those stepping stones, so you're not by yourself.
Right.
And that's the big part. Like,
Right.
You have somebody that can literally go, hey, this is what I'm seeing too. Dude, if you did this, this, and this might be the next thing to happen for
Right.
you.
One thing that I didn't realize, and the reason why we're talking so much about coaching is because I think there's a lot of misinformation out there about what it actually is.
Right.
Right. What I didn't realize until I went through this process with you was that coaching and mentoring are not the same thing.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of companies out there are going to tell you they will coach you as an artist when they're actually mentoring you.
Yeah.
And what a mentor does is they take their history, their knowledge, their understanding of things, and they tell you, go do what I did. Right. But a coach is more invested in who you are as a person and as an artist,
Right.
and then helping you determine for yourself the very best next steps, right?
Exactly.
But we do that within a great framework that Jeremy has developed that really dives into who you are as an artist.
Right.
Is that showing up in
Yeah.
your music? And how do you communicate that to the world?
Right.
And that is a process we put every artist through when we go through one-on-one
right.
coaching. And our coaches are actually certified. So we're not just calling someone a coach because they've done something in the music industry.
Right.
They go through specific training that teaches them how to best coach every single individual that comes through.
So even though we have like we know how to do this, I'm actually an artist manager now, and I'm helping an artist in a management way, understanding their whole business, right? But I do the same thing with him. I help coach him, and I really hear from him, like, where does he really want to go in this next season? What does that look like? And for him, it was, hey, I really want to do another album, and I have about 5 songs. And I'm like, great. So how many songs do you think we should get? And he's like, well, I've heard other people say X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, what if we doubled that? And we just really wrote a ton of songs and then picked the best out of those. Because mentoring wise, I know that's the right way to go, but I allowed him to make that determination. Right. So when it comes to coaching, that's a little bit about what we do. And again, my heart is to help our coaches, support our coaches, and us, because we're coaching right now alongside artists as well, to really make great strides in where they're going and understand what that looks like. Because once we do that, we can come alongside them and help them amplify by connecting them with the right people.
Right. So, why should you listen to this podcast? Yeah. Because we've done a lot to communicate with you about what the Indie Friend is, right? We felt that there was value in also actually just talking to you directly, not just to let you know what we're doing with the Indie Friend, but also because like our true goal is that you hear what we're talking about and you have access to people that understand how the industry works, right? So all the things that we're talking about is just one more touch point of how to have access and connection to navigating music business. Right. So we will still go over topics here this season that will help you understand, and you will, by listening to this podcast, better understand how to navigate the music business and the industry. We're going to have professional individuals come alongside of us and interview them to help share with you their perspectives, whether it's a producer that's working with indie artists and things they wish indie artists would understand, and vice versa. Just people who've had success, who've been there, who've gone there, to help you along your journey. So we could spend a lot more time talking about so many things, but I think for now, that's what I would like to leave them with.
Totally.
So if you were to do 2 things today, we would just ask you to check out the indiefriend.com.
Yep.
We have a free resource for you. If you go to the indiefriend.com, you will be able to put in your email and download a PDF that tells you exactly the roles that you play when you're an independent artist, how the money flows to each of those roles, and how to go get it. Right. And the reason why I talk about money, because there are a lot of creatives will probably say like, we're doing this because we love this, not because we want the money. But the truth is, many of you are trying to make a living off of this. So whether you are or are not trying to make a living off of it, it's still important to steward whatever does come in. But on top of that, when you understand how the money works and how it flows, you will understand why the industry is set up the way it's set up. And you will understand different people's roles within the industry for if and when you're approached with a deal. Or when it's time to figure out, what do I not have that I need? Or who do I not have on my team that I need to have on my team?
And that goes to the educational component, like right at the beginning of understanding, again, like how the money flows. So if you go to the website, again, there'll be a pop-up that comes up. You can get it there. Or if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see a form for our email list, but you'll get the PDF if you sign up on that email list too, which obviously if you do that, you'll start to be informed about what we're doing and the podcast and other Q&As we're having and things like that help you individually as an artist. But we hope you'll get so much value out of watching and listening to this podcast that you be like, dude, the program has to be awesome, because we're gonna give away a lot here, but it's hard to even like put into words what people are already getting out of the program. That we've gotten
the people
feedback
that have
on
already gone through
and have gone through and are like flying now. we have good friends that have like gone like, oh gosh, thank you so much. Now we know what to do.
Yeah.
We know what to do next. And then you're off and doing your thing. Like we don't have, it's not like an ongoing thing where we have to like, oh, now we have to do all this stuff with you. It's like, we want to get you moving so fast that you don't need us anymore and you understand it and you're going. So that's our heart.
Yeah. Like ultimately our heart with this podcast too is to serve you.
Yeah.
It's
totally,
not
man.
to blow up or to explode in numbers. If and when that happens, great.
It's okay.
That just means there's more people being served and helped, right?
Yeah. And we're scratching an itch where it's really needed.
So with that, make sure that you like, follow, and or subscribe to the Indie Friend Music Business Podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts. And thank you guys for listening.
Thanks so much.
Been looking for a breakthrough, trying our best to make